There should not be anything he can do, but there certainly is something he can do. Like, there's how it should be and how it actually is.
Oh, it's very
in all aspects of the world, right? By any standard of logic or reasoning, we all know that while Cooper Rush has overachieved and done, it has been a hero in sports terms for the Cowboys, we also know the context under which he has won these games. And we know that everything has been just perfect for Dallas. They haven't turned the ball over. They're tied for the best with Philly in the whole league in lack of turnovers, only 2. Cooper gets some credit for that, but that's also some good fortune. Other guys haven't fumbled, hasn't had bad luck. They have played a soft-ish schedule throughout this, and at no point in any of these games have the Cowboys been in a gotta-have-it, must-pass, the whole world knows you're passing, can you make the throw situation, which is the spot you are most nervous about your quarterback coming through if you have backup quarterback. So under all those circumstances, he's done well. And that article, which is a really good article, explains how he's done almost all of his damage on first downs, which is the easiest down to pass on, all of that. So in reality, Dak Prescott, your $200 million man, who is not a great quarterback, but clearly a top 12 quarterback in this league, should be the guy as soon as he's healthy. And nothing Cooper Rush has done should impact your view of that moving forward. But in reality, in the real world, Brew, if they beat the Rams, even if it's a Jimmy G-style victory, if it's 13-10 where the defense carries them, even if Cooper Rush does nothing seriously of note, if they beat the Rams and then they bring Dak out the very next week to play Philly, and Philly does what Philly's been doing, which is play great on both sides of the ball, make other teams' quarterbacks look inept at various points, and Dak's a little rusty, there will be a quarterback controversy. There should not be. I would not. And Jerry Jones, by the way, won't hate it. Because it will be more reason for the Cowboys to be in the news, which is always objective A in Dallas. So, yes, I think simply beating the Rams, no matter how well he plays, would create a controversy, even though I think it's a ludicrous one.
I'm with you in that it shouldn't be a controversy, but I disagree in that if they win, but he doesn't play well, or he does what he's been doing, which is about 220 yards a game, maybe one touchdown, right? I don't think the controversy is there for smart football people, okay? Now, for foolish people, sure, they might just say, oh, he's winning, here we go. But I think what it would take, Nick, sorry about that. If he goes out and they beat the Rams and he has a huge game, which is possible. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards. He hasn't even thrown for 240 yet. He threw for 325 last year against Minnesota. If he does something like that, 325, I'm going overboard. 3 touchdowns, no picks, and they blow out the Rams. That's when you've got a controversy. Because right now, Cooper Rush, I just mentioned some of his numbers. They're not close to what Dak Prescott produced. And as you say, you talked about the offense not making mistakes. The defense has had no margin for error. All right, none whatsoever. Now, they've been great, but they're not going to be that great every single game. You look at Dak's numbers last year, the Cooper Rushes this year, when Rush started, the 3 games he started,
Dak's better
and Dak's dwarfed him. Yeah. What that does is it gives the defense a little room to breathe. And they're going to need that, especially in big games. Look at the TD percentage. So Dak is playing much better. I do want them to focus on the run and get that going. Don't have Dak do too much, but you got to throw Dak back in there as soon as.
Yeah, I know, but right now we're drunk on vacation, 3rd day on vacation, super drunk at the bar with your wife, and you're like,
why don't we live here?
Why don't we live here? Like, we should live here, right? Like, going into it, you're like, well, this is just temporary. Yeah. Then day 1 goes well. Day 2 goes well. Day 3, have a few drinks. You're like, this is nice. We sort of simplified our life a lot. Yeah. I like it here. We need to just wake up the next day and be like, all right, this doesn't work. What are we going to do for a job? But that hasn't happened yet. We're at the height of it. So here's the other thing about being drunk on vacation. Yeah. You look around and you're like, has anyone ever done it? And then in Aruba we went, the guy has a Wisconsin brat stand right on the beach, Broussard. Libby's talking to the guy. The version of the Wisconsin brat stand in Aruba is Tom Brady And Cooper Rush, if we can show the graphic again.
Yeah.
We showed this yesterday. We didn't really dive into it. To be 100% honest, I was a little reticent to show it. I was a little nervous comparing Cooper Rush to the GOAT. But look, you keep winning and winning and winning, and then the coach is like, no, we're going to stick with the hot hand. It's on the board. It's on the board, Broussard.
Here's the difference, though. That Patriots team, I know they had Drew Bledsoe. They weren't good. They were 5-11 the year before. They were 8-8 before that, but Belichick gets there his first year. They go 5-11 with Drew Bledsoe. They go 0-2 to start the season. So they're 5-13 with Bledsoe. They were 12-5 last year and the highest scoring offense in the league. So that's a huge difference.
I get it.
Another difference is Brady, even that first year, and obviously the most famous moment of that is in the Super Bowl. But throughout that year, he didn't have big numbers. Right. And he didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns. But he had big moments. He had big moments in tight games in the fourth quarter. Now, the games were 13-13 because they were all rock fights for that Patriot team. But Brady came through in some spots. It would be unfair for me to say Cooper Rush can't do that because he's done everything they've asked him to do. But because of how well the defense has played and because of who they've played, there's been one spot the whole run where the game's in question in the fourth quarter. That's against the Bengals. And on that drive to get the game-winning field goal, they never faced a third down. So we haven't seen those moments. But what I have been quite spot on about is calling not how Rush is going to play, but the narratives of the Cowboys.
I like this.
From the moment Jerry said, oh, Dak, we're not putting him on IR. And we all said what a farce that was about how it was to get the PR and not the roster spot, all of that. I promise you that if Dak Prescott comes back for the Eagles game, if they have won this Rams game, it metastasizes into something that can be a distraction throughout the year. So my advice for the Cowboys would be this, because Dak can't. No. Well, no. Dak can't play this weekend. I feel like we all know that. No matter what happens on Sunday, don't have Dak come back for the Eagles game.
I like this.
But
because the next two games after that are Detroit and Chicago. And you know what benefit it would be? One is Dak will be as healthy, even healthier, rather than being rushed back. Another is everybody's lighting up the Lions. Now, the Lions are lighting teams up as well, but it's the number one offense and the number 32 defense. Right. And then Chicago, and then a bye week. You have two good Dak Prescott games against the Lions and the Bears. Then you have a bye, and you're a month removed from this Cooper Rush fling. If you throw him in against the Eagles, when even if he's fully healthy, there's nothing to say he's going to look good against that team whose defense I think has been one of the stories of the season and could be rusty. You are asking for, you're inviting, to use another torture analogy, you're inviting your ex to your wedding. Maybe it'll be fun, but maybe it'll just be a total disaster. And so I just,
that's smart.
I would not play him against Philly, even if the doctor's like, I think he's cleared to go.
I think the reasoning you had is sound, and just give him another week to get healthy. It was supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. Let him get healthy if you're playing well. However, because this thing is spinning out of control, if Rush plays well against the Rams and they win, and then he plays well against the Eagles and they win.
Okay, well then the Brady thing we have to start talking about.
I mean, really, you got serious.
Can I stop? Yeah. It's spinning out of control. We're the ones on the carousel pushing this thing. It's going crazy.
No, you created the graphic.
It's spinning out of control.
Hold on, but he used the Brady example. What about when it comes to Dak Prescott, using the Dak Prescott example, which is they weren't undefeated, but they were unbelievable. They lost that first game with Dak, and then what did they start 10-2 that year?
Yeah,
and Dak was unbelievable. Romo was healthy enough to play, and at some point, and Romo was basically Jerry's adopted son, and at some point they were like, well, we got to go with what's working. You know what I mean? We have to go with it. I have been as skeptical as anyone on TV about Cooper, given his pedigree. Yet, if they beat the Rams and the Eagles, and he's playing, I got to see how the games go. Well, I got to see how the games go, but I can't close the door to it.
Okay. He averages 255. 255 yards.
And a lot of yak.
Has 4 TDs, no picks.
Okay, well then now he's
And
5 games with no interceptions. 5 games
the
that
2
they're
games.
5-0. No, but it would be what I'm saying. He has no
Right, no
interceptions to this point. And then I got to against Aaron
You're
Donald
keeping him
and then
in?
against the Eagles. I got to listen to it.
You're keeping-
at some
come on,
point.
no,
at some,
no.
Listen, it's not Mahomes
'Cause you-
or Brady or an unquestioned champion that's your quarterback. Dak has earned the benefit of the doubt, and I think Dak is far better than Cooper Rush, and I think the Cowboys are far better off with Dak Prescott. But I reserve the right to change my opinion if Cooper Rush continues to be undefeated and continues to play. The Rams or the Eagles game would be far more impressive than anything he's done up to this
absolutely.
point. And you're saying 255 yards, that would be an upgrade. 2 touchdowns a game, that would be an upgrade. You'd be telling me he's getting better? Like, then I at least have to be open to it.
You let Dak come back against Detroit and Chicago, and if he looks horrible and you're losing, you got a bye week to have him battle for the position.
Yeah.
No, I'm going with Dak.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.